This is part two of my series called The Dark Hall, and I've found out from somebody on this channel who's commented and mentioned to me that this is actually from a Half-Life mod. And I remember that now because I had done the bathroom scene and I did a locker scene from a Half-Life mod, and I remember searching for more of that kind of stuff and coming up with this image now. So now we know roughly where it's from. So we're going to get started now with the modeling of the room itself, and I think we'll do the room and maybe the door, and that will be that. So over here in Blender, I'm going to press A to select everything, X and delete, so I have nothing in the scene, and I'm going to look down from the top view. I just pressed 7 to look down from the top, and I'm going to Shift A, mesh plane. I'm going to bring in a plane, and I'm going to rotate this. Let's see, I want to rotate on the Y. Rotate Y 90, and I press 1, and I'm going to press G and just move it up and sort of move it over to somewhere over there. All right, I'm going to grab these two vertices, and I'm going to look down and go into wireframe actually, and I'm going to pull these out to make the beginning of the hallway. And I'm just going to rough this thing out, so it's going to come down here, and then it's going to come down, and I'm going to continue to just make this thing, and it's going to come out here. All right, so what I've got is this wall. It's come down, it's come around, and it's come back, and we'll do this, and then we'll adjust the size after. And then it's going to come out, and the doorway is going to be there. All right, so it's around there, and then it's going to come out a little bit like that, and then it's going to come down like that. So let's just have a look at what this looks like and then fix it. Right, so we'd be in like that. Okay, looking in like this. All right, so I'm going to, in 2 edge selection, Shift Alt and click there, and I'm going to pull this up higher and just position myself in here so I can't see the door yet. So I'm going to press 3 for face selection. I'm going to pull this up and imagine I'm here, and maybe what we'll do is maybe we'll pull this back a little further. So if you're here, you can see a bit of the door and you can see some of the wall. Something along that line, like that. Okay, I think maybe this can be a little narrower. We could be in here. Yeah, put an edge loop there. All right, and we're going to move it up till it's about something like that. Let's have a look here. All right, I want this brick wall, and then I want that. So it's kind of like 3/4 and 1/4, or 2/3 and 1/3. Let's go back and have a look at that. Something along that line would probably be okay. Let's cut this door out here. Let's just do this and this, and just think about that. I can move those. So let's I could extrude it, or I think for right now I'm just going to delete that face. So let's say we're like here. Now you don't really see that other edge, so kind of like that. And I'm just thinking about whether I'm just Shift Alt and clicking those edges. I won't select those two, but I want to bring it up a little bit more. Kind of like that. Now what we'll do is let's Shift Alt and click those faces, and Shift Alt and click those faces. And we're going to create 2 materials. On the first one, I'm going to click New, and I'm going to call this Brick. And on the second one, I'm going to click New, and I'm going to call this Concrete. I'm going to click on the brick one and choose Assign. And then I'm going to go Control I, that will select everything else, come to the concrete and click Assign. So if I deselect now and I want to see the concrete, if I do select, I have that one. If I come to the brick and select, I have that one. Alright, so we can put materials on there. Before we get started a little bit with that, we're going to come back in here, and I'm going to switch over to Snap to Edge, and I'm going to select these 2 edges, press 2, hold Shift, those 2 edges, pull, and then press Control and hover my mouse over here. It'll snap to there, just so it's the same length for now. Okay, We're going to go into the shading tab, and I want to be on the brick material. And just for now, I'm going to start laying down the bricks. So I have a brick material. I'm going to press Shift A, texture, brick texture. And I'm going to unwrap this first. Let's do this. Let's select everything, and actually let's go to the UV editing. Let's try U unwrap and see how it looks. Doesn't look that. It looks pretty small. So I'm going to use Smart UV Project 0.003 for the island margin, and OK. Select everything, and in Blender UV pack islands. We'll do it that way. Okay, so this is UV unwrap, so I need that. Back over to the shading tab. On the brick texture, I'm just going to press Control T. That brings in the texture coordinate and mapping node. Switch this to UV, so pull UV into vector. And we're going to drag this into base color. And we have this. Now, I want that only on the brick texture, and it looks like I have another texture here. Let's come back in here and deselect everything. And there's brick. This one is actually deselect. This one here is supposed to be concrete, so let's make that concrete. All right, back to the bricks, and we can make some adjustments. You can see that the orientation is not quite right for these, so I'm going to take the UVs and I'm going to rotate 90, and let's pack this again. If I pack it, it's going to go back that way, so I'm going to put it there. I'm going to use UV Pack Master and rotate 90, and let's come back. And only some of them are the right way, so I'm going to manually flip some of these. So I'm going to go into the UV editor, and let's make sure we can see this here. And this one's the right way, so we'll select that one. That one's not. This one isn't. This one isn't. This one, this one, this one, and this one. I'm going to rotate 90 on those. So now they're all facing the right way, but we need to work on the size of these. So in the brick, I call the brick generator, in the brick texture, let's change the scale here to around, let's try 12. And I'm probably going to go up higher than that. Let's try 14. I might leave it like that so we can see our bricks here. And yeah, okay. All right, let's do that. And we're just going to do a little bit of stuff here. I'm not going to change much, but what I'd like to do is get a little bit of bump out of this. So I'm going to add a vector bump and just drop it down there. And I'm going to take the FAC out of here and plug it into the height of the bump and the normal into the normal. And that will give us just a little bit of bump, which is all we're going to need for this project here. All right, so let's switch that to this, and you can see what we've got here. Now, these are not necessarily the colors we're going to use. Yeah. I'm just thinking that I might want to move this up. I'm going to select all those faces and pull it up like this. I'll stretch the texture a little bit, if that's okay. Start with that and see how I like it. Okay, let's add some floor to this. Shift A, Mesh, Plane. Go into Edit Mode and in Wireframe so we can see the outlines. I'm going to select this edge, and I'm going to pull it out to here. So I'm going to pull it and snap. Take this end, pull it and press Control, snap to there. Take this end, pull it and snap to there. For now, we'll do it to there, so it just ends at the doorway, and then we'll think about that. All right, so this is what it looks like. Yeah, all right, so we'll come over here to this one, and this one I'm going to create a new material, and I'm going to call this floor. And we're going to use the brick generator again, but we're going to have to unwrap this. So select it and go U, unwrap. And let's give this a try. Shift A, texture, brick texture, drop that there. Control T, that's with the Node Wrangler enabled, of course. And I'm going to switch this from UV to vector. And for the moment, we'll just plug that in there. And we'll have this. Now, let's not have an offset here. Okay, we want to make these tiles. So I'm going to put the offset at 0. And let's change, let's see, the mortar size. Let's make that 0.01. We'll start with 0.01. And let's try equal size brick width and height. Let's try 0.5 on that one. So they're looking a little bit more like we need, but we'll change the scale. Let's try 8. Okay, we could probably leave it like that for now. One thing I didn't do is I didn't take this edge and move it down, so we could do that. Move down to the end. So pull it and snap to there. And let's just have a look at the picture here. The tiles look a little smaller. We're not going to worry about lining up with the walls or anything right now. So let's come back and let's try 9. We could count the number of tiles if we wanted to, but I'm not going to do that right now. We're just getting them in there. Now for these, I'm not going to have any bump at all. And like I said, we'll deal with the color later on. So we have that, and I think what we'll do is we'll take this, Shift D to duplicate it. I'm going to actually be over here. I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to hold down Control and snap it to there. Now we need to look at the orientation, so come over here to face, and you'll see that some of my stuff is red. So I'm going to select all of this, Alt N, flip, and then select this one, go into edit mode, Alt N, flip. Now the polys are facing the right way when you're inside of the room itself. So let's turn that off, and let's come to this. All right, let's have a look at what the ceiling is going to be. It's just this. So we want, let's see what we're going to do here for this one. Let's have a scale. See, we've got the, okay, let's have a scale of, let's try just 8. And let's make these the same color. Let's make this, okay, it's not quite white, so this is 0.8. Let's make this 0.8, just do it this way. 0.8, and let's make this more like that. Maybe 7. Okay, we'll do some bump on this one as well. So I'm going to add a vector bump. And let's control the spacebar so we can see this. I'll take the FAC and I'll put that in the height. I'll take the normal and plug that into the normal. We have this, and we can play around with the lighting if we want to change that. Let's come back to here. Maybe I'll go to that one. So you can see we have a little bit of bump, and we're in our room. Now what I've done is I've changed this, and I've affected my floor as well. So let's come back to here, and that one's floor, and this one's going to be ceiling. So let's press this button here, change this to say ceiling, and we'll come back to this one, and I think I'll just actually delete that and bring in a new one. Just make it a little bit easier to start again for that one, and I'll plug that into here, and we'll just redo that. So the offset is going to be 0. And the mortar size is going to be 0.01 and 0.5, so they're equal. And then here I had something like 8 or 9, and I'm going to plug that in back to height. Let's go back and look. All right, so I've got my tentative floor. Only thing is I didn't want bump on this one, right? Okay, there we go. So it's starting to look a little bit like the diagram with the bricks. We'll have some concrete material with the ceiling and that kind of stuff. Now I do think in actuality, maybe I do need to move this back, and there will be tinkering like that as we do this. I am going to move it back a little bit, and therefore I'll take the floor and I'll slide it back and I'll snap it to there. I think I do want that recessed a little bit, and that means my ceiling has to move. Snap to there. All right, now we're going to work on the door frame, let's say. Hopefully that's tall enough. Actually, I think these bricks, the more I look at them, I need to make them smaller. Like that. I'll leave it like that for now, okay, because we're not going to do too much work on the texturing. I may want to move this all up a little bit. Nah, I think it's good enough. Okay, so let's do this. Let's come in here and select this edge, just that edge alone, and Shift D to duplicate it and pull it out a little bit, and then P, separate by selection, and go back in object mode, and we have that. Let's make a little piece of wood for the frame here using that piece. So I'm going to take it, go into edit mode, and E to extrude, and just pull it out a little bit for the sort of the width of that piece. Press the period key to focus on that, and I'm going to press E to extrude and pull back a little ways like that. Now some of my polys may be flipped, and you can always come up to here to see, but they actually aren't, so that's good. So I'm going to take that piece and just sort of slide it back to make that piece of the frame. Now I'm not going to see the back side of this, so in 3 face selection I'm going to select that face and X faces. Really not going to see the bottom as well, so I'm going to get rid of that. I'll leave the top for now, but before we do anything, we're going to bevel this a little bit. So 2 for edge selection. Let's go back to here, select this edge and this edge, and yeah, we can leave the top for now. I think Control B to bevel and pull like this. I'm holding Shift so I move a bit slower. Roll your mouse up so you have one more edge in there, and do something like this. So there's that piece. Now I think probably it would be nice if we beveled this as well. So Shift and Alt to select that entire edge that goes around, and we'll bevel that. Control B and pull, just like that, and that'll make it a little, catch a little bit of light and look a little bit better. All right, so I'm going to take this piece and select it all, and Shift D to duplicate it, and just pull it so that it covers that edge right there as well. All right, now we need to make the top. I'm going to Shift D to duplicate it. I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to P to break it out. I'm going to make it a separate piece. Take this, and I'm going to rotate X 90, like that. Slide it over here, and pull it up like this. And it doesn't have to line up perfectly, like these pieces of wood can be off a little bit, but I'll adjust that a little bit. And then when I look at this end, I'll realize that I don't have a bevel on this. I'm going to select this whole edge, 2 for edge selection, Shift Alt and click there. I'm going to pull it through, and then we're just going to decide if I need to bevel this or if I want to just have it join. I think I probably will bevel it, so I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to press F to make a face and Control B to bevel, pull it like this. All right, and then hold Shift, and now I have all of that, and I'm going to pull it in. And it just looks a little bit better, a little bit more realistic when it's like that versus one piece. So there's our door frame. We just have to decide how far we want it to stick out. I'm okay with that for now. So let's just look over here. Okay, we need to put a material on this. So I don't need brick or concrete on these pieces. They're there because I created it from the wall piece. So I'm going to delete and delete that. I'll do the same on this one, delete those. And we'll add a material here. We'll just click new, and let's call this wood. And just down here, let's just change this color to like a dark brown color. And we can leave it as that. And this one, we'll just come here and select wood. So we have the door frame in there. All right, looking like that. That's possible. I'm going to pull this wall in, make it a bit narrower. But before we do that, let's create the door. Let's come in here and go into edit mode and select one of these edges here and one of these edges here. It doesn't have to be exact. It's never going to actually go into there. So I'm going to take those and Shift D to duplicate, and then I'm going to pull them forward, and I want to separate them out of this object. So I'm going to press P, separate by selection, and I've got this. I'm going to go into edit mode, and let's hide that. It's a little easier. And we're going to take these, and I'm going to go into edit mode, select them, and then I'm going to slide them down here. I'm going to pull them out a little bit. And if you really cared, you could go SY and scale them in just a little bit, so as if the door fits in. But all right, press 1 for, actually you don't have to, just F to make a face. And so that's going to be our door. Let's give it some thickness, E to extrude, and just gesture this way and make it about that thick. Take it all and let's just make sure, yeah, it's blue, so it's facing the right way. Okay, we're going to make this hole in the door here. So let's just look at the door and Control R and drag an edge loop close to the side. Let's see roughly where it is for that part. And another edge loop to get the width of the window, something like that. We can pull some of this later. Okay, and where's the height? It's hard to see in this image, so, and then you can see down there. So let's just do something. Let's say it ends around there, and it goes to about, I don't know, there, something like that. All right, so we have that. All right, so let's just focus on the door with the slash key. Let's go back to that view, and we'll select there, and we'll select here, and we'll press Control E, bridge edge loops, and that will make our hole. And let's create a little ledge inside. So let's Control R to drop an edge loop there. And I'm going to pull it a little bit towards the front like that. I'm going to select all these faces now, 3 for face selection, Shift Alt and click those faces. We're going to press E, Alt S, and pull or push. Well, it's going to be a push so that they come in like that. And we'll have that layered kind of look. Let's add a bevel modifier. Come over there, bevel modifier. I'm going to bring this up to probably 3 and change the amount to 0.02. And so now I have a little bit of a bevel on my door as well. And I have that. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to drop an edge loop down here, just pull it down a little bit because we may use this area later to add a texture, or I may put a plate on there like this. So what I mean is I might take these faces, Shift D to duplicate, pull them out, P to break them out, come back in. I don't need these edges, so in edge selection, select those, and X, dissolve edges to get rid of them. Take this whole thing and maybe press S and just scale it just a little bit, and then extrude it back a little bit, and then get rid of that back face, X faces, and then A to select it all, and then push it onto the door, and we can always adjust that later. So I might do it like that, and I will actually leave that there, and we'll think about it. Slash key to bring everything else back, and we have the wood material on it right now. We're going to change that, so let's come over to the materials and delete the wood. Same thing on here. And we'll create a new material and we'll call it door. And we can just for now make it a slightly bluish color. And we don't have to do really any more than that. I'll put the door material on there as well. We may have that in a slightly different tone. there will be a piece of glass in this, so let's just complete it by putting that in. I'm going to, in edge selection, Shift Alt and click that edge. That goes all the way around the hole. I'm going to press F to make a face, and I'm going to select that face, and I'm just going to pull it forward. And that's going to be glass. And what I'll do is I'll make it another color. Because there's more than one material on here. There's the door material, and that may be different, like I said. There's that. Actually, the other piece is hidden or whatever. I'm going to click the plus and click New, and I'm going to call this glass. And right now, those materials are joined, and assign. And I might just make that like a slightly greenish color, so it's glass. And there's that other piece there, door. So we're going to take this and go into edit mode, look from the front, and I'm going to rotate this a little bit until it hits the wall. And that will sort of simulate this. Back in object mode. Okay, I do think this is too wide now for me, and I might change the size of these. So there's always little manipulations to do. So I'm going to select, I can do this a number of ways. I can box select here. I want to box select this, and I don't need this. Let's get this, and let's get this. And I think I'm going to move them in just a little bit. And think about this. If I'm looking down, yeah, I think I might like that a little bit better. And let's see if I still have the roof somewhere. And let's experiment with, I'll put a light in there in a second, with different HDRIs. Let's go ahead and do that one. Okay, that's good so far. Let's come over here and turn on ambient occlusion, and I'm going to actually change the distance to 1 and the factor to 2. And we can also turn on bloom and screen space reflections and switch that to refraction and get rid of that. Change the render to 150. I'll be using Eevee, and we'll leave that like that for the time being. Okay, so there we get a little bit of sort of shadowing, and let's wrap this up by throwing in a couple of lights, point lights, just to start to get a sense of this thing. I look from the top and wireframe, and I'm just going to press G and drag it roughly down into the middle. We'll position all these things later. And let's see, and you start to see some light there, and we'll come to the light. We'll change that to maybe like 100 for now, and we can turn on under the shadow, contact shadows, and change this a little bit. I'll make it a little bit yellowish for now, and maybe we'll bring this down to 50. We'll have to adjust these lights in a bit. And I think I'll put one there and Shift D to duplicate it, and I'll pull one down near the ground. Okay, and we can take the floor in the materials and just do a little bit, like, you know, for example, bring the roughness up. And we can do the same for this. We can bring the roughness up. I mean, we can do that for all of these, really. And if I turn on Scene World, we'll have that. And so we'll have to make some changes. This light, I'm making it a bit more blue for now. And we can come in here and we can change the color of the world down. Okay, so we're starting to get something that looks a little bit like this scene here. All right, so we can leave it at that point, and we'll come back and we'll model the chair and the bed frames and get the lights going, the lamp, and then start, you know, working more on these materials and on the lighting. Okay, but that's a good place to start. It's beginning to look like a reference. All right, so thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you in the next video.